Hi everybody, today I am here with another update for my TBR From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR. I went to the library earlier this morning and I got a bunch of new books out for this TBR, so I wanted to share recent books I've completed and recent books I'm reading, and also books I'm going to be reading. Two rereads for this TBR that I will be doing are Be My Guest, Reflections on Food, Community, and the Meaning of Generosity by Priya Basil. I read this in November by Nonfiction November, and it's an essay collection about planning events and cooking, and the character on Friends that this book most represents is Monica. And I'm excited to read this book again and hoping to work some of the advice from it into an upcoming party we are having next weekend when we have our friends from Philosophy Club over for a meeting for our club and our friend Crystal's birthday. The next book I'm reading was actually a DNF from last year that I'm going to give a second chance to. When I was looking up reading lists for Gilmore Girls characters on Instagram, this book described Kirk, and I haven't really seen very many episodes of Gilmore Girls yet that show that Kirk is anxious. So I'm not really sure how this book is relevant to Kirk, but I guess we'll have to see. One book for this TBR I recently finished was Nosy Neighbors, which is a mystery book that came out last year by Freya Sampson. This is my first book by this author, and in one of the reading lists that I read by about books that described Gilmore Girls characters, this book, and also Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers was for Emily, and I feel like the character in this book would definitely describe Emily's character because she's rich. She's rich and snobby, and these people in this book live in a really rich area of town that have a lot of people that spy on each other a lot. And I would say that over the course of the book, my opinions of the motives of the characters did not really change, because I didn't really think they were trying to help each other out. I thought they were really trying to just do things for their own benefit. The next book that I picked up for this TBR was on Books and Lala's video for favorite books that she read in 2005. This book is called The Undomestic Goddess by Sophie Kinsella, and it's about a woman who's a lawyer who goes undercover as a housemaid at her client's house to try to understand why her clients are not getting along, and it's interesting. This book made me think of the movie Made in Manhattan with Jennifer Lopez, and it made me wonder if this author inspired those people to write that movie, because the plot to this book is very similar to that movie, which I saw Made in Manhattan back in October, and I believe we gave it 8.5 out of 10 stars on Goodreads, on IMDb. I rated this book 4 stars on Goodreads. I rated Nosy Neighbors 4.5 stars, And last year when I read Anxious People, I DNF'd it at 50% and gave it 2.75 stars, but we will see if my opinion changes on reread. One thing I'm currently reading for this TBR is my buddy read with Kathleen. We're reading Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. I am planning on finishing this book this weekend. I am on Act 3, and I only have 2 more acts left to read, so I should be able to finish this within the next 2 days. Kathleen and I will be filming our podcast for this TBR, where we provide the updates for our buddy reads. Friday, we will be filming the video with our buddy reads reviews when we go to art class on February 28th. So that video will be up on my channel on February 28th after I get home from art class. So stay tuned for that. The next book that I'm currently reading for this TBR is Winter Street, which is part of the Winter Street series by Elin Hildenbrand, the same author as Swan Song. So the hotel in this series reminds me of the Independence Inn, and that's why I chose it for this TBR. I am currently on page 130 of Winter Street, and in Romeo and Juliet, I am on page 115. The next book that I'm going to be reading, the next book I'm currently reading for this TBR is Last Call at the Local. This book also showed up on one of the reading lists that best describes Gilmore Girls characters, and this book was best fitting the description for Lorelai, which makes sense because Lorelai and Rory always go out for coffee at Luke's Diner. I have never read any books by this author, Sarah Grunder Ruiz, and I'm really actually enjoying this book, and I love her writing style. Right now I'm on chapter 17, page 200. The next book that I'm reading for this TBR is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I'm also going to be reading Solitaire, and I also read If I Could Be Like This. So the first book I read by Alice Oseman was the Heartstopper graphic novel series, which I read thanks to the hyping up by Sarah Crowley and Haley Pham. So I Was Made for This was my second book by Alice Oseman that I read for this Gilmore Girls TBR. It's a book that I got for Christmas from my mother-in-law, Sally, and it's a book that I reviewed in a previous video. This book was on one of the recommendation lists that I found on Instagram about books that describe Gilmore Girls characters, and this book describes Rory. And the other book that I'm going to be picking up on Tuesday, I just wanted to make people aware that I had a whole bunch of books come in at the library all at once, and I couldn't take them all home today, so I have to get the rest of them on Tuesday because the library is closed on Monday because of the holiday. The other book I'm going to be reading by Alice Oseman is called Solitaire, and it describes Paris. The blurbs for Solitaire that are on the back of Radio Silence are a fascinating debut from an author to watch. Oseman's debut could put her among the great young adult fiction authors. Tori's voice makes the story into a poignant and basically funny and even lively emotional journey, a deeply observing read. In Oseman's punky, depressive, epigrammic, moderate heroine, Tori Sprang, we have a hidden Holden Caulfield for the internet age. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tori is the sister of one of the characters from Heartstopper. Can I get confirmation that that's correct? If so, I can't wait to read this book because I really liked that character in Heartstopper. So I'm very excited to read this. The next current read on this TBR is The Heartbreak Bakery. This is a new book that I have found out about through the post on Instagram, not recommended books based on Gilmore Girls characters. And if you couldn't guess already, this book would describe Suki, who is played by Melissa McCarthy. And this book is really cool because it comes with recipes. So I have a feeling we're going to be making one of these recipes eventually. And I will review the book and the recipe at the same time. So this book will probably get its own individual review separate from the rest of the books in the TBR, so that way I can review the recipe. So thanks for tuning in. I hope everybody has a great long weekend and stays safe in tomorrow's snowstorm. Bye!